We're trying to do what we call the active cinematic experience. We want to make people feel like they are playing a movie. One of the things that makes our game stand out from a lot of others is we've heard dozens, if not hundreds of people tell us, I loved playing your game and my wife, husband, girlfriend, partner, friends, dog loved watching me play it. And so much of it, I think, has to do with the fact that we are making a game that's not only about, like, running around ancient societies and, blowing things up, but also human characters with, actual personalities and relationships. And so much of that just comes from the way that all of us have worked together over the years.
I can give you all kinds of actor speak and it's a moment and you just find the focus, it's imagination. You're a kid. I mean, you saw us up there. I mean, we laugh more than you can imagine. I have two boys, and when they go out and play in like a clubhouse, some days it's a pirate ship. Some days it's a military fort. I don't know. And you never go out there and say, "You guys hungry? Oh, you broke my focus." It's not. It's imagination, and it's in its purest form. It's good acting is playing.
They really have created this environment for us to feel safe to be stupid like that. It also has been great because we've worked together now for, we were saying earlier, like five years now. And so when you build that trust with each other, continually coming back to a project and being familiar with the characters, and you're each so grateful just to be able to be in that room, in that studio with everyone, it creates for great moments. You have to just block everything else out and step into that imaginary world and know that when we throw something out there, or when we come in the morning and we collaborate around the script that Amy's been, working over and looking at structure, and then we're able to just sort of jump into that boat with her and kind of, say lines, or what about this and what about that? I mean, it really creates a wonderful, safe place to work, and not every place is like that.
I mean, we go out there in those silly suits and we look at each other in these silly suits, and if you don't crack up then, you're not going to. But we do. We just run around and have a good time, and we're given great scripts by Amy to play with, and we have a lot of leeway within the scripts to play with it however it will work for us. And we know these characters very well. We've been doing them, like you said, for 5 years, and it's the best job I've ever had, I'll tell you.
One of the reasons we don't use facial motion capture, just the body motion capture, is because it also gives us more flexibility. I can go and pick the best physical performance from any take that I want, and Taylor can pick the best audio performance from any take that he wants, and then we just combine it all together. And then once it's back, it's handed off to the animators, and then it's done like almost any other, feature animated film or film. The difference being that we don't really do any storyboards beforehand, because we work very improvisationally on set, and it also gives me flexibility once we get all the motion capture takes back, is we can put the cameras anywhere we want and create the performances any way that we want.
Josh walks around with one of these really weird L-shaped brackets or whatever, and he walks around and he literally... The Schmoigen, apparently.
We've nicknamed it the Schmoigen.
The Schmoigen. And he will run around and he'll be able to angle the computers to look at the different film angles of what he wants. And then so while you're acting, while we're in these crazy suits, we can look up on the wall at the screen and there's a 3D image of us walking around. If something's not, calibrated correctly, my wrist will be like this and I'm like hobbling around the set. But I know that, they'll go in and recalibrate everything, and it's just really neat to be able to see on the day while you're moving around your body moving up on that screen and watching how they sort of set up all these shots. It's really interesting.
And so we can shoot a lot of scenes in a day, but what's nice is we have the luxury, and thank you to Sony, that we have our own stage now, and we can go there anytime we want and take as long as we want. And so we'll take, sometimes to the point of delirium, we'll take 8 or 9 takes of something and then do a bunch of audio passes so we're covered. But it lets the actors play with the material in a way that maybe you don't get to do in other media.
As we've progressed, one of the things that we've started to learn, one of the advances we've made, is which bits of technology or which bits of complexity to ignore. On the first game, we had we wheeled a Jeep, an actual army Jeep, onto the stage, and that was the Jeep that Drake and Elena were riding in Uncharted Drake's Fortune. And the plane that they were in, that they parachuted out of, that was actually, we constructed this wooden skeleton of a plane, and so they would have all these touch points, and they'd do all this stuff. And now when we do a Jeep, it's like 2 chairs on boxes with other boxes on top of them, because we can just go so much faster, and they don't need a real Jeep to feel like you're in a Jeep. I mean, they're actors. I mean, that's what they do, you know? I mean...
Not anymore, we don't.
We brought in people of all different, dialects and things like that. We had people with English accents in Australian. I mean, I was trying to get Claudia in to read for Elena initially. Actually, the reason her name is Elena, because the very first incarnation of her, she was actually Spanish. Did you know that?
No.
So, there.
All right.
I think it was Elena Vargas.
Oh.
Anyway, that didn't work out.
That's right.
But what you have to do is be open to the fact that when you do find somebody and the chemistry's there and they walk in and they seem to be embodying the character, then you start letting your character become them, because you don't want to mash a square peg into a round hole, right? And that's one reason I like to write as I go, which is crazy, and it's a tight wire act, and it's one that I ask 100+ people to do with me, and thank you to Naughty Dog for putting up with me. But it's because I can learn who the actors are, and therefore learn who the characters are as I go, and only just sort of work to an outline. But the story never ends up to be what I initially imagined it to be. Part of what I think makes our stories interactive in a way, rather than making it completely passive entertainment, is I deliberately leave a lot of things to your imagination and leave things implicit, because I think it makes it a more active experience for you, that you're kind of filling in the blanks. If you care, there's a lot of people that play the game and just don't give a damn, and they're just skip, right? Which is fine, right? I mean, it hurts our feelings, but it's fine.
I don't like those people.
And so for them, you don't want to belabor exposition and story, you just want to keep it snappy. But what I try to do is leave those gaps to say exactly what you're asking, is what could have happened. And I think sometimes if you define everything, you kind of have killed the thing. You've killed the fact that this is a collaboration between us, right? From the storytellers to the person who's playing it. And I think that's why people love games like Eco and Shadow of the Colossus and Journey, is because there's a lot of implicit storytelling going on. Now, we can't do that because we're supposed to be pulp action adventure, but I do as much of it as I can. On the other hand, you're talking about a guy with a lot of problems. And so he's got some issues. He's got some issues for sure. And
And so does Nathan Drake.
Oh yeah. Yes. I am drawing from life here. I think it's a very relatable human thing, is sort of like how we succeed and fail at our human relationships. And I think this is a guy that's got some issues in his past, and I think that he's better at being a hero than he is at being a guy in regular life.